Now we will talk about the nose and the paranasal air sinuses clinical anatomy. The common cold or rhinitis is the commonest infection which we come across in the nose. The reason it could be due to the allergy or the infective, or it could be due to the both. It commonly occurs during the change of the seasons, and Indians are most likely to get infected with this sort of allergy or infection or the both. The paranasal air sinuses are usually get infected due to their connection with the nose. Since all the paranasal sinuses, they open into the lateral wall of the nose, so since they have got the direct connection with the nose, so the paranasal air sinuses they get infected from the nose. And the maxillary sinus is the most common. Maxillary sinus is the most common among all the four sinuses which get infected. It is the largest sinus, and it is the highest chance of getting infection is in the maxillary sinus. The relation of the nose. Now the nose is related to the anterior cranial fossa through the crista galli. This is the crista galli, and here we have got the cribriform plate of the ethmoid bone. Through this cribriform plate of the ethmoid bone, the olfactory nerves enters into the nose, both in the lateral wall and in the around the septum. So there is a connection between the anterior cranial fossa and the nose. So the nose is related to the anterior cranial fossa through the cribriform plate of the ethmoid bone, and to the lacrimal apparatus, and through the nasolacrimal duct. As we know that the nasolacrimal duct opens into the. Here we have got the nasolacrimal duct, and this nasolacrimal duct this is the lacrimal sac, and here we have got the lacrimal apparatus. Here we have got the this is the lacrimal canaliculi, and here we have got this is the nasolacrimal duct. And here is infranasal concha. So through this nasolacrimal duct, this nose is connected to the lacrimal apparatus. Here we have got the lacrimal gland. Over there, and this is the lacrimal canaliculi, and this one is the nasolacrimal duct, and through this nasolacrimal duct, the nose is connected to the lacrimal apparatus. And the lacrimal apparatus includes everything, that is the gland, the canaliculi, and the duct. All together they constitute the lacrimal apparatus. So through this nasolacrimal duct, the nose is connected to at this level, and so this nose is connected to the lacrimal apparatus. Now the fracture if there is a fracture at the level of the cribriform plate of the ethmoid bone, then what will happen? The CSF will leak from the anterior cranial fossa into the nose, and from here it will come outside. And this condition is known as the CSF rhinorrhea. Means CSF is coming out from the nose. And why it is coming out? Because of the fracture of the cribriform plate of the ethmoid bone. The CSF from the anterior cranial fossa, they dribble out from the anterior cranial fossa into the nasal cavity, and ultimately this comes out from the nose, and this is condition is known as the CSF rhinorrhea. Now, the infection of the sinus is known as sinusitis. Infection of the sinus, if the sinus is get infected, then this condition is known as the sinusitis. And this sinusitis will cause the headache and persistent thick pooling discharge from the nose. We call the persistent thick pooling discharge from the nose. And diagnosis is usually confirmed by the ENT surgeon when they put the trans illumination and by the radiography they confirm the diagnosis that which sinus is being infected. As we know that all the four sinuses, they opens into the lateral wall of the nose. Their opening are in the lateral wall of the nose. So from here the probe enters into the different sinuses and the diagnosis is being confirmed that which sinus is being blocked and which sinus is being infected. The maxillary sinus is the commonest sinus to get infected. Maxillary sinus is the commonest sinus to get infected, and why it is get infected, because we know that this is the maxillary sinus. This zone is the zone of the maxillary sinus, and the opening of the maxillary sinus into the hiatus semilunaris is at the level of the roof of the maxillary sinus. This is not at the level of the floor of the maxillary sinus. So this opening is at the level of the roof of the maxillary sinus. That means at the higher level. This is at the higher level. So in cases of the maxillary sinus, if the maxillary sinus is involved, then the surgeons will have to make the hole at the floor by making at the level of the inferior nasal concha. At the level of inferior nasal concha, the surgeons make the hole at the level of the floor of the maxillary sinus and they clear the maxillary sinuses. So there are two ways to open the floor of the maxillary sinus. One is the enteral puncture can be done by breaking the lateral wall of the inferior meatus. The lateral wall of the inferior meatus is being broken out, and the fluid is pushed through this opening which has been made over here, and once we push the fluid over here, the remaining fluid will come out from the natural opening which is at the floor of the roof of the maxillary sinus. So what happens that at the level of the inferior nasal concha, lateral wall of the inferior nasal concha is removed, and at this level there is a artificial hole is being made. Through this hole the fluid is being pushed to the maxillary sinus, and what happens, the fluid, the water, the normal saline mixed with the pus will come out from this normal opening which at the level of the roof of the maxillary sinus. And second is known as the operation is known as the Caldwell-Look operation. Caldwell-Look operation. And what is this operation? That at this, the opening is made at the level of the canine fossa. The opening is made at the level of the canine fossa through the vestibule of the mouth, through the vestibule of the mouth deep to the upper lip. Deep to the upper lip, this at the level of the vestibule of the mouth, this opening is made and enters into the maxillary sinus. So there are the two-way operation. One is the enteral puncture at the level of, after removing the lateral wall of the inferior nasal concha, making a hole at the floor of the maxillary sinus pushing this normal line, and the normal line mixed with the pus comes out through the opening, natural opening, which is situated at the level of the roof of the medullary sinus. And second is known as the Caldwell-Loop operation. In this operation, the opening is made through the canine fossa, through the vestibule of the mouth at the level of deep to the upper lip. Now, next is the carcinoma of the medullary sinus arises from the mucosal lining, and the mucosal lining of the medullary sinus, the medullary sinus opening, which is lined by the wall is under the inside wall is being lined by the mucosa. This mucosal lining may get involved with the carcinoma, and the symptoms of the carcinoma will depend upon which wall of the medullary sinus is being involved, whether it is roof is involved, floor is involved. If the roof is involved, what will happen? It will be mostly the orbit which will get involved. If the floor will involved, what will happen? The palate zone or the mouth will get involved. If the posterior wall is get involved, then what will happen? That the sphenoidal zone, this zone will get involved. So it's depending upon which zone is being involved. So the involvement of the orbit will causes the proptosis and diploia. Involvement of the floor will produce bulging and even ulceration of the palate. Forward growth obturation of the canine fossa of the canine. Forward, if the growth will be forward, then it will obturate the canine fossa and produce swelling of the face. The backward involve the palatine nerve. We have got the greater palatine groove over here, and we have got the greater palatine nerve over here and artery over here. So this will involve the palatine nerve and produce pain referred to the upper teeth. And growth in the medial direction will produce if you go to the medial direction, then this will produce the nasal obstruction, epistaxis and epiphora. And growth in the lateral direction will produce the swelling on the face and palpable mass in the labiogingival groove. The frontal sinusitis and the ethmoiditis may cause edema of the lid secondary to the infection of the sinuses. Pain from the ethmoid air sinuses may be referred to the forehead, as both are supplied by the ophthalmic division of the trigeminal nerve. The pain of the medullary sinusitis may be referred to the upper teeth and infraorbital skin, as all of these are supplied by the medullary nerve. We have already discussed about the epistaxis and the little's area when we were talking about the septum of the nose and it was the sphenopalatine artery which was mainly involved and responsible for the epistaxis. So sphenopalatine artery is the artery which is responsible for this is the sphenopalatine artery. This sphenopalatine artery is the artery of epistaxis. This artery is the artery of epistaxis. We have already talked about the anastomosis which is being held over here with the involvement of the anterior and posterior ethmoidal artery from the anterosuperior aspect. From the posterior superior aspect we have the sphenopalatine artery. From the posterior inferior aspect we have got the greater palatine artery, and from the anterior inferior aspect we have got the facial artery. All together they constitute a large capillary network, and this area is known as the Little's area, or these are the commonest site of bleeding from the nose, and the bleeding from the nose is also known as the epistaxis. So sphenopalatine artery, this sphenopalatine is the largest artery, and this Its contribution is the largest one, and this is known as sphenopalatine artery is known as the artery of epistaxis. This is known as the artery of epistaxis. And one thing we have left about the septum, that this septum, when it get deviated, when there is a deviation of the nasal septum, is responsible for repeated attack of the cold, allergic rhinitis and sinusitis, and the surgical correction is required, because once it gets deviated to either this side or that side, the air entry from that side is being less, so that causes the repeated attack of the rhinitis, sinusitis, or common cold or allergy. So this is all about the clinical anatomy of the nose. Thank you.